Family. What's going on, Ma? Welcome, you guys. It's Monday. It's Monday here on the watch list with the watch party. If you guys don't know yet, you'll soon figure it out. We're rolling here now. I hope you guys enjoyed the weekend. As you guys know by now, it is Monday, and the Monday. A lot of times, I always like to think where the root, meanings are of words and where we get all the origins. I used to be smart like that and used to care about those things. But what I did remember was Monday, the word Monday, the root meaning of it is the best damn day of the week. That's what it is. That's why you should always know that as you go into your week and do amazing things. And after the weekend full of nonsense and madness in our political world, we're gonna go over some of that too. Not sure if you guys saw this, but sorry, I'm fixing my camera, this other camera I've got. But when I saw it, I was like, I guess I got to talk about it. I guess on Monday, I got to talk about it. I guess come Monday, I got to sit here and bring up the fact that this lady said this, and now I got to talk about it. This is crazy. Did you guys see this lady say this?
I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics. It's very bad for our country. And it's been something I've thought about a lot, especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, is that I'm only responsible for myself and my own words and actions. And I am committed, and I've been working on this a lot lately, to put down the knives in politics. I really just want to see people be kind to one another. And we need to figure out a new path forward that is focused on the American people, because as Americans, no matter what side of the aisle we're on, we have far more in common than we have differences. Yeah. And we need to be able to respect each other with our disagreements.
Wait, what? Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to apologize from the bottom of her heart, utmost sincere apologies for the way that she participated in toxic politics over the years. She wants to change her ways. She wants people to understand that the thing is, we need to know is that everyone has the right to say things that they want, and you know what? Sometimes we just need to get back to doing things for the American people. She wants to apologize for taking part in toxic politics over the years, because the most toxic politician of all time has now his eyes set on her. I'm going to get to what I specifically think about what Marge has said there. Very sincere apology. It's what many folks who want actual apologies from really bad people look for before they go, oh, I see where you're coming from now. I'm going to get to it. But here's that toxic politician, at least the showdown that's coming and has been happening between her and the most toxic politician of all time.
A political feud unlike any other, and probably one that you never thought you would see. Donald Trump earlier attacked Marjorie Taylor Greene, and tonight the Republican Congresswoman is responding directly to the president after he said he's pulling his endorsement over her recent criticisms of his administration. Listen to what Marjorie Taylor Greene just responded a few moments ago after the president said he didn't have time to take her call every single day, referring to her as a lunatic. Here's what MTG had to say. President Trump just attacked me and lied about me. I haven't called him at all, but I did send him these text messages today. Apparently, this is what sent him over the edge, the Epstein files. And of course, he's coming after me hard to make an example, to scare all the other Republicans before next week's vote to release the Epstein files.
Now, there's a little bit of one of Marjorie Taylor Greene's posts as this battle has been brewing and has overflowed and boiled over between her and Donald Trump, the guy that she won't fully talk about being the issue behind all these disagreements that she's got with her Republican colleagues. Still hadn't, but it's now hit this breaking point. So it's that's happening, where this brewing is going on, and it's been building for a while, but we've seen it coming. I was just wondering if it would ever really happen. Donald Trump even wondered himself maybe a week or so ago what it is that's happening to Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a big ally of yours, said that she would rather see you focused on nonstop domestic policy meetings here at the White House instead of nonstop foreign policy meetings. What's your response to her saying that, and also saying that grocery prices are up and not down, as you said?
Yeah, so I don't know what happened to Marjorie. She's a nice woman, but I don't know what happened. She's lost her way, I think. But I have to view the presidency as a worldwide situation, not locally. I mean, we could have a world that's on fire where wars come to our shores very easily if you had a bad president. We had a horrible president, and we ended up with Russia, Ukraine, and we ended up with other disasters too. Don't forget, I put out 8 wars, 9 to come. I think I'll get the other one taken care of, but I put out 8 wars. And look at the damage that Russia, Ukraine has done to us as a country. I mean, we spent $350 billion. We're not spending any money anymore. Now they pay us through NATO.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
He just wants to know what happened to Marge. She was a nice lady, and now she's totally turned. So he was trying to build up and trying to figure out what is that's happened to Marjorie Taylor Greene. I feel like he's been seeing some of the things that she's been saying lately, even though this was on Sunday. This may have been probably the biggest issue that he's got with her. I mean, it's a crossover, all the Epstein stuff, but it's also this aspect.
About something you posted just yesterday on X. You questioned who and what country is putting so much pressure on Trump to keep the Epstein files hidden. And you included a picture about donations from pro-Israel lobbying group AIPAC. What are you trying to say there?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's the question that many Americans are asking, especially when we saw information recently come out in these emails that the Oversight Committee that I serve on has released. And we saw Jeffrey Epstein with ties to Ehud Barak. We saw him making business deals with them, also business deals that involved the Israeli government, and seems to have led into their intel agencies. And I think the right question is to ask is, was Jeffrey Epstein working for Israel? And I'm proud to say I don't take money from AIPAC. I don't take money from any special group of people. I'm just representing my district and the American people. And so that's what I was referring to.
Well, damn. Marjorie Taylor Greene is even talking about potential ties of Jeffrey Epstein with some kind of covert operation or working with intel agencies related to Israel. We've known there's a bunch of international ties and international figures and big name folks from all over the world that were tied with Jeffrey Epstein and his child sex trafficking ring. We already know this. We just don't know exactly who or to what degrees. And what we could figure from realizing that, though, is that this is one of the main reasons so many folks and so many multiple administrations and so many politicians want to keep lids on this. Powerful people across the world, people show up missing. Some people that start disagreeing show up dead. But I'm just saying, when Marjorie Taylor Greene starts talking about the things that she always talked about before, as far as some of these potential conspiracies that are happening, but then when it's tied with, I didn't play the back end of Dana Bash, then asking her further, because she didn't seem very happy with that. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not taking any money from AIPAC. Marjorie Taylor Greene is talking about why these Epstein files could be covered up to this degree, but she's still not fully on the whole Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. And that's been my hang up. I'm just saying that's been my hang up. And I've also realized that Donald Trump hadn't been coming after her either. And I was like, what is it that he's not doing? Because he always comes with someone who disagrees with him, even 1% of the time. Then he answered. He answered my question. The honeymoon's over. Here's what Donald Trump said about Marjorie Taylor Greene over the weekend. I'm withdrawing my support and endorsement of, quote, Congresswoman. Not sure why he put her in quotes. She is a congresswoman. Marjorie Taylor Greene of the great state of Georgia. Over the past few weeks, despite my creating record achievements for our country, including a total and complete victory on the shutdown, closed borders, low taxes, no men in women's sports, or transgender for everyone, ending DEI, stopping Biden's record-setting inflation, biggest regulation cuts in history, stopping 8 wars, rebuilding our military, being respected by every country in the world, as opposed to being the laughingstock that we were just 12 months ago, having trillions of dollars record-setting invested in the USA, and having created the hottest country anywhere in the world from being a dead country just 12 months ago, and so much more. Oh my God. All I see is wacky Marjorie do is complain, complain, complain. It seemed to all begin when I sent her a poll stating that she should not run for senator or governor. She was at 12% and didn't have a chance, unless, of course, she had my endorsement, which she wasn't about to get. Pause for a second. Why wasn't she about to get that endorsement? She kisses your ass and does everything else that you want. That is up until now. Let's get back to it. She has told many people that she's upset that I don't return her phone calls anymore. But with 219 congressmen and women, 53 U.S. senators, 24 cabinet members in almost 200 countries, and an otherwise normal life to lead, I can't take a ranting lunatic's call every day. I understand that wonderful conservative people are thinking about primarying Marjorie in her district of Georgia, that they are too fed up with her and her antics. And if the right person runs, they will have my complete and undying support. She has gone far left, even doing The View with her low IQ Republican hating anchors. Oh my gosh. So that's how he finally decided to fire back at Marjorie Taylor Greene for all of her disrespect and leaving the party. Can't believe she would do this. I can't believe that she would actually cross me. But there was about 5 to 6 to 7 other offshoots and tangents and directions he went that really doesn't matter. It was just a lot of distraction. But the bottom line is he's pulling his endorsement. He doesn't like her. And he did confirm what it is that AOC was talking about. One of the reasons that Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing this is because the Republican Party leadership put an axe on her ambitions to run for Senate, or I guess governor, is what Donald Trump was also saying there as well. So, Marge finally had to respond because Donald Trump finally responded. Here's what she said in response. President Trump just attacked me. President Trump just attacked me and lied about me. I haven't called him at all, but I did send these text messages today. Ooh. Apparently, this is what sent him over the edge. The Epstein files. And of course, he's coming after me hard to make an example to scare all the other Republicans before next week's vote to release those Epstein files. It's astonishing, really, how hard he's fighting to stop the Epstein files from coming out and that he actually goes to this level. But really, most Americans wish he would fight this hard to help the forgotten men and women of America who are fed up with foreign wars and foreign causes, are going broke trying to feed their families, and are losing hope in ever achieving the American dream. That's what I voted for. I've supported Trump with too much of my precious time, too much of my own money, and fought harder for him, even when almost all of the Republicans turned their backs and denounced him. But I don't worship or serve Donald Trump. I worship God. Jesus is my savior, and I serve my district, GA 14, and the American people. I remain the same today as I've always been, and I will continue to pray this administration will be successful because the American people desperately deserve what they voted for. You guys want to see two of those text messages that she said she sent to Donald Trump that he said she's been harassing him and calling him with? She's dropping all of it. She's even dropping receipts. Here's one of these text messages that she sent, and she pointed out it's to DJT, posted at the top. Check the flight. What she said to Trump. Check the flight logs of Epstein's plane. Bill Clinton is on there like 26 times. Hillary too. For many of us, releasing the Epstein files has always been for the women who were victims of Jeffrey Epstein, but also because we believed that Democrat bad guys like the Clintons were entangled and involved with him. Epstein was the spider that wove the web of the deep state. Lean into it. Looks like she's trying to give him a little bit of advice. Hey, Don, here's a way that you can, address the Epstein situation and still come out trying to look clean, even though it's kind of impossible to do that considering you're all over the place. But if I bring up Clinton, maybe Donald Trump will actually listen. Here's another text message, but she sent it to one of his staffers here, though, I believe, because someone else, that staffer, Natalie, pointed out the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. And she responded. Marge said, in every single interview I've done, I have defended President Trump. I've said over and over, the women say he did nothing wrong, and their attorney says he's the only one who helped. And the Democrats had 4 years to release the files, but did nothing. Stop ignoring the women. Many of them literally voted for President Trump to say so publicly. And being raped as teenagers is not a hoax. This is the part that I'm talking about. And Marjorie Taylor Greene basically just said it for me in that message that she shared that she had with a staffer, Natalie, Marjorie Taylor Greene, in all of her efforts, as she's come forward and done the right thing on Epstein, as she's come forward and talked the right thing about what it is that happened during the shutdown, as she's come forward and talked correctly about healthcare issues and how Mike Johnson has no plans, no thoughts of plans. People's costs are going up; they're being skyrocketed. People are concerned about the economy. They're not happy being gaslit by this administration. She said so many of the right things, but the one thing that she was telling these folks that she wants to be defended on is that she's never come for Donald Trump. And you know what? She's right.
Do you think President Trump has something to hide here?
I don't, because I believe the women, and the women have said over and over again that Donald Trump did nothing wrong. Even Virginia Giuffre said it under oath, and she wrote it in her book. And so if we listen to the women, they say Donald Trump has done nothing wrong.
Only problem is Marjorie Taylor Greene is not listening to the women who said Donald Trump has done a lot wrong. That's just the only problem. So the ambition or whatever it was, the plan and the strategy to come forward and say all these right things, which I appreciate when anybody says the right things, because maybe there's people that only listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene, and once she says the right thing, they'll start understanding how severe these things are. So kudos to Marjorie Taylor Greene. And she's finally had her riff with Donald Trump, because Donald Trump finally had it with her getting way too close and talking about all of these connections that he possibly has with all of these other folks and the nefarious things that he's been doing and why he's covering up those Epstein files, except she still won't come for him on that. I mean, she can have her beliefs, so it's not up to me to tell her everything to believe. It's just pretty odd that everyone can see it except for her. Donald Trump wasn't even done with her. He got to truthing a whole bunch. This is him reposting, I guess, the loyalist MAGA folks who hate Marge now. And I guess this is the schoolyard bullying part of the battle when he says, nobody likes you. Watch, let me show you. Here's one person that said, you chose your side. You joined the Democrats. You want to better your political future in 2028 instead of helping President Trump fix this country, which is why we voted for him again. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. I'm sure Whoopi's always going to hire you on The View. That's one person that was mad. Another one said, your political future just ended. Well, I think that was her issue, because she was trying to advance her political future and they blocked it. Now she's mad. Hey, here's another one of these folks who was upset about it. Like this, by the way, all of these Donald Trump reshared on his own, social media platform. It says, I hope it was worth it, sellout. I'm from a district similar to yours. Massey's, in fact. Oh, man, I want to mention Massey. I know my family, friends, and I cannot wait to vote against Massey. I bet many of yours feel the same. Don't pretend it's just about the files. Others are doing the same, and we're fine with that. I'm fine with a lot of stuff. But again, these are people that Donald Trump is reposting to Marjorie Taylor Greene, I guess, to let her know you're out of the club. All these idiots think so too. Here's the last idiot that he reposted. Said, you've literally been all over the map since he told you the truth. You're not built for the Senate, and you never will be. You speak on things wildly without having any deep understanding of any subject you speak on. Your Doge subcommittee was a complete failure, and the most successful part of it was a freshman congressman from Texas. You have done nothing but opportunistically let liberals pass you around like a cheap political football on television for media hits where they sing your praises and pretend that you're being bold and asking great questions. You have no solutions. You're a grandstander, and now you're being called out for it. Best of luck. You're going to need it. Man, they're pissed. They're so mad because they're following their dear leader. I listen, there's a lot of posts, but I really want to show you the lengths that Donald Trump is going to make sure that he lets everyone know that he hates him some Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's how important covering up these Epstein files are to him. Here's another one from him. This is just in the morning, I believe on like Saturday. Lightweight Congressman Marjorie Taylor Brown. Green grass turns brown when it begins to rot, he says. Betrayed the entire Republican Party when she turned left, performed poorly on the pathetic View, and became the rhino that we all knew she always was. Just another fake politician, no different than Rand Paul Jr., Thomas Massey, who got caught being a full-fledged Republican in name only, which means rhino, make America great again. Oh my God. I wonder at one point, is he ever going to advance his language or the way that he writes or the way that he posts things like this. You have to have these asides. You know, I can't call her Marjorie Taylor Greene anymore because, you know, green grass turns brown and, you know, now she's brown. I have to tell you what rhino means now, too, even though we overuse the shit out of that term. Rhino. You know what rhino means? You know what rhino means? I'm so tired of these children that are leading the country with these stupid schoolyard bullying fights. And finally, this is the one that brought Marjorie Taylor Greene out to be mad at Donald Trump. And he also followed that up again an hour later and said, Marjorie traitor Greene is a disgrace to our great Republican Party. He's on a fucking warpath. So I want you guys to remember really fast before we get to Marge's latest, or at least the response after that. We've got riffs over all the battles they've got. Now he's specifically targeting her and reposting people who are angry with her. The rhetoric is heating up. Keep your mind on the rhetoric and the way that they talked about rhetoric when it came between Democrats and Republicans and radicals and violence. Marge responded with this. I'm now being contacted by private security firms with warnings for my safety as a hotbed of threats against me are being fueled and egged on by the most powerful man in the world. The man I supported and helped get elected. Aggressive rhetoric attacking me has historically led to death threats and multiple convictions of men who were radicalized by the same type of rhetoric being directed to me right now, this time by the President of the United States. As a woman, I take threats from men seriously. I now have a small understanding of the fear and pressure the women who are victims of Jeffrey Epstein and his cabal must feel. As a Republican who overwhelmingly votes for President Trump's bills and agenda, his aggression against me, which also fuels the venomous nature of his radical internet trolls, many of them who are paid. Wow, this is completely shocking to everyone. My phone is blowing up with constant amazing support, and I'm so thankful. The political industrial complex and the toxic, violent nature of American politics must end. Our country is worth saving, and it can only be done if we pull together and save ourselves. Oh my God. Is she willing now to pull back all this talk or stop supporting this party that keeps talking about how the Democrats are so radical and they send all of these death threats to every conservative's way? When she said 2 times in that post that the most powerful man in the world is coming and attacking her, that also the president of the United States, Donald Trump, is sending folks, and she's just looking for private security because now she's taking these death threats seriously. The same kind of death threats that radicalizes people that are directed towards her before. How was it before? The kinds of radicalized death threats that came your way were coming from all those lefties, but suddenly it's the same way coming from this guy. It can't be both at the same time. I understand. It's a very calculated, strategic political approach that Marjorie Taylor Greene is pursuing here, and it's working for her. Trust, it's working for her. And I welcome every time that she comes forward and says something truthful that's disrupting this madman dictator in the White House so he can start pulling the last few strands of hair out that he's got and being pissy with her. I'm open to all that. The problem that Marjorie Taylor Greene still has with me, the problem that Marjorie Taylor Greene still has is that she thinks being non-toxic in the political atmosphere and going on The View and then ignoring questions about some of those people that she doesn't feel are worthy enough to be represented in this country, that are worthy enough to still have their lives taken seriously, that are worthy enough to not be attacked by our law enforcement and National Guard and active duty troops being sent into the cities. The people that she doesn't give a shit about, minorities, LGBTQ plus folks, anybody else that she dislikes still because she's still a conservative that hates and dislikes a lot of people, she just thinks the only thing that's not toxic is going after, which is she's rightfully doing, the people on this Epstein files list. That is, except for Donald Trump. So let me wrap up and show you guys the last reason why I welcome and I accept Marjorie Taylor Greene's apology for being toxic. The only problem, the last little problem I've got with her apologizing for it is that she doesn't think certain folks are included in what she claims is toxic. This stuff is still up, you know, this is all clean to her.
You're talking about lowering the rhetoric, which is important for everyone.
That's going fast. Hold on.
You're talking about lowering the rhetoric, which is important for everybody to hear from you and all of our elected officials. But there is some concern, a lot of concern among Republicans about the rise of anti-Semitic hard-right figures in your movement, especially after Tucker Carlson hosted white nationalist Nick Fuentes on his podcast, didn't question Fuentes about his vile language or views. You did speak at a conference hosted by Fuentes back in 2022. You were criticized and you said then that you didn't know about his views. Well, Fuentes talked to Carlson about that in the interview. Listen to what he said.
Well, again, with Marjorie, I was a friend of hers, and she spoke at my conference, and then the day after, she pretended like she didn't know me. She pretended like she didn't know me and lied and said, I had no idea the conference I was speaking at. She knew exactly what it was.
What do you say to that?
Well, first of all, I defend every single person's free speech rights. I think that's incredibly important. So I don't apologize for that. And I don't believe in canceling people. And I think it's important for people like Tucker Carlson and yourself to interview everyone. I don't believe in trying to cancel someone by refusing to interview them and question them. And I did speak at his conference back in 2022. However, I don't know Nick Fuentes. He's someone I've never exchanged text messages with or phone calls, but I did speak at his conference. That was the first time I had met him that day, and that was it. So, but I did watch the interview. I watched the full interview with Tucker, and I admire him for interviewing many people as well as exposing a lot of powerful information.
I hear what you're saying.
Does on his show.
I hear what you're saying about free speech. I mean, count me as guilty as a proponent of free speech. There's free speech, and then there is hate speech. And this is a man invited on a really prominent conservative show who said, even during that interview, he had a problem with, quote, organized Jewry, and he wasn't challenged on it. In the past, he has denied the Holocaust, called Adolf Hitler effing cool, talked about the fact that he thought Jim Crow was just fine, and on and on. So again, there's free speech, and then there's just hateful language and sentiments.
Well, Dana, again, I told you on this interview that I'm committed to ending the toxic politics, and I think I don't want to have anything to do with it. You should have Nick Fuentes on your show, and you could ask him questions about that. I myself am.
Nick Fuentes should still be on shows. Nick Fuentes' points of view. Everyone has their First Amendment rights to say the things that they want to say. Yes, they should. And then after that, we should realize what those First Amendment rights then sometimes lead to, which Donald Trump has his First Amendment rights, and his First Amendment rights have him pitching the kind of rhetoric that's led to more death threats towards Marjorie Taylor Greene. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is incensed about that. But what she still doesn't care about is how Nick Fuentes' language leads to death threats, leads to a change in the way that our society sees certain people, and that her language that she doesn't see as toxic anymore. When she ignored Whoopi Goldberg, who they say is her best friend now, on The View, asking about invasion of American cities and targeting Black and brown folks, she didn't have a fucking word to say about it because she still doesn't care. So I'm enjoying the evolution of Marjorie Taylor Greene. I welcome her evolution. Maybe one day she'll get to the point where she still thinks people that she sees are lesser than her are valuable enough to be living in this world, because she ain't got there yet. But I'm glad that the whatever she saw from the Epstein survivors and the stories that they told has called her cold, black, dead heart to beat a couple times a minute. So I appreciate that part. Maybe she'll get there one day where she thinks that canceling Nick Fuentes is something and not actually limiting someone who's pushing violent rhetoric on certain people that isn't her is not a problem, because that's what she doesn't have a problem with. Sorry, I'm almost there, Marge, but I think she has more work to do. And number two, do the work you're doing. Push him on this stuff. You don't need to be in any circles anywhere near the thought processes I've got to continue to fight him on Epstein. Fight him on Epstein. I love it. Love to see it. Not telling you to stop. Just not accepting this bullshit. All right. All right. Sorry, you guys. Maybe you thought I was about to flip. I'm close. She has some more work to do. And I'm just going to point out when she hasn't done the work yet. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on. That took a half an hour, and I got to be on TDR in a minute. Let's move on to what it is that was really the catalyst behind this whole beef between Marge and Donald Trump. That is actually these Epstein files, which it's blowing up and it's continued to explode. Man, the behind this is continuing on, so much so that people are highlighting this guy Tim Dillon, that for some reason people highlighted before is now finally figured something else out.
Let's look at Trump here. And I do think, unfortunately, this kind of is the end of, and I say unfortunately, not because I care, truly, but I say unfortunately because it seems to not be doing anything good for anyone. This is the end of the Trump administration. This is the beginning of the lame duck presidency. It's obvious to everyone, even his most ardent supporters show up to the White House, like Laura Ingraham, and she's kind of shocked on what the hell's going on. Now we'll start, 3 years of talking about the ballroom. He will trail off. He will get older. He's adorned the White House in gold. Epstein's going to suck the oxygen out of a lot of this. We're going to talk about that a little later on. Apparently AI, by the way, the only thing I'm sure of about AI, I'm not an expert, is that AI, as soon as we have robots running around this country, they'll all be pedophiles too. There's no one in power that will apparently just not be a pedophile. All these robots will be pedophiles. The 100% will do a pedophile robots. Our first robot president will be a pedophile. I know that. It's the only thing I know. Our first AI robot president will absolutely be a pedophile.
I guess it's over. Tim Dillon says that it's over. The Trump presidency is the beginning of the end. You love to see it and hear it. Maybe it took this much. It took such a blatant cover-up of child sex trafficking rings and his name listed all over the place for enough of these folks to finally go, wait a second. You mean Donald Trump is a liar? Hey, sometimes it takes a little bit longer. But either way, the fact that things like that are being said and folks are pointing things out, and that there's all kinds of memes and AI videos and all kinds of disgusting things going around about Donald Trump and what it is that he apparently had been up to, according to a few more of these emails. I mean, if you guys haven't heard about it, I'm hearing about Bubba. There's been a lot of things about Bubba. I won't get into that right now. You guys probably have already seen it. Either way, it's got this guy shaken up. And every time someone asks him anything about it, he gets a little bit snippy, because he's stressed.
Bam.org. Live now to remarks from President Trump.
With the president of Harvard, who that is Summers, Larry Summers, whatever his name is, and all of the other people that he spent time with. Jeffrey Epstein and I had a very bad relationship for many years. But he also saw a strike because I was president. So he dictated a couple of memos to himself. Give me a break. You got to find out what did he know with respect to Bill Clinton, with respect to the head of Harvard, with respect to all of those people that he knew, including J.P. Morgan Chase.
Sir,
Yeah, Jennifer, go ahead.
Incriminated in the file, sir. Why not act? Why are you acting as a
Quiet, McGee.
Quiet, McGee. Isn't it McGee? Quiet, shut up. Shush. No follow-up questions, because you might actually ask me another question, make me look even worse than I looked just now. He didn't answer the question the first time, of course. All he wanted to talk about was how he has to go after Democratic folks that are potentially all mixed up in those files. Hey, bro, go after all of them. The problem with that is that people would have to ask him next, aren't you gonna go after everybody? So that's the snippiness towards reporters asking normal questions. This is him coming up with new theories to distance himself from this further, and it only makes him look worse.
timelines when you might release more of those files?
Which ones?
Democrats to Epstein.
Well, I don't know about this one. I know nothing about it, but I understand they released like 40 or 50,000 pages already. And nobody. I will say this: if they had anything, they would have used it before the election. Okay? I can't tell you what they put in since the election, but if they had anything, you don't think they would have used it before the election? They would have gladly used it before the election.
Sir, before the election,
Jennifer,
why were you or why was your team encouraging Congressman Goldberg and Congresswoman Mace to not pursue?
Because we think it's bad to talk about it, because it gets away from the subject of how well the Republicans are doing.
None of it makes sense. And people are finally listening to what he's saying. I think that's always been the problem. People have just heard about what he's said and don't actually listen to it. More people are listening to what he's saying, and it doesn't make any sense. Do you hear that theory? Biden and them. This is also what Stephen A. Smith, dumbass, said. Also, a couple other Republican politicians said, because they were carrying that same water, that if this was a real thing, Joe Biden would have released all this stuff and had all the damning evidence on me before the election. And since then, Donald Trump said, since then, I'm not sure what they could have added since. So let's listen, think about that statement. Donald Trump thinks there was nothing in those files, or else Joe Biden would have released it before. But on top of that, maybe since you may see some damning things coming out, Joe Biden must have added it afterwards. Joe Biden and his Department of Justice added information or some kind of damning information into the Epstein files since Donald Trump took over in 2025, the beginning of this year. How is it possible that Joe Biden and his geriatric ass could be at home in his rocking chair, somehow influencing how we're going to put more things in the Epstein files that he has no control over, that your Kash Patel and your Pam Bondis are in complete and utter control over? An investigation that they've shut down, an investigation that said there's nothing in there that they've already looked into and investigated. How is it possible that Democrats can add something to the Epstein files? It's impossible, and it doesn't make any sense. And the only reason he said it is because he's flailing. And the reason that you'll say things like that when you're flailing is because the heat is so close to your ass that, shit's starting to burn. Chris Murphy says it, a lot more eloquently than I do. I still like my way better.
Shutdown and all those related issues. On Epstein, the president is now demanding, or has demanded, that the attorney general, the Justice Department investigate his political opponents. And Pam Bondi responded by basically saying, yes, sir, and moving in that direction. What do you make of that?
Well, it's both heartbreaking and totally unsurprising. The Department of Justice has just become a protection racket for Donald Trump and a witch hunt operation against his political opponents. This is why our democracy is in such peril right now, is that for the first time in our history, the Department of Justice operates in order to try to punish and lock up anybody that criticizes Donald Trump. I'm really proud of the work that Representative Massey has done in the House of Representatives, along with Ro Khanna. And yes, John Thune should bring that vote to the Senate floor as soon as it passes the House of Representatives. It's true that Donald Trump is trying to cover up for, I think, a host of really powerful and rich people, but he's frankly not that selfless. He wouldn't be going through all of this effort to try to stop the release of these files if he wasn't seriously implicated in those files. This is most likely the biggest corruption scandal in the history of the country. We know that because Donald Trump is going to these extraordinary lengths to stop these files from coming out. The Senate should take this vote. I think it'll be likely another big bipartisan vote, and I'm grateful to our House colleagues for sending it our way.
Yeah, Chris Murphy said it well, too. He's going through some extraordinary lengths to make sure that this doesn't see the light of day. He's not selfless enough to actually try and do this to cover for all these other rich and powerful and influential people who are all part of this child sex trafficking ring as well. He'll throw them under the bus if it comes to him saving his own ass. So the heat is on, like I mentioned. Multiple Republicans are talking about if this comes to the floor, they're actually going to vote for it. Instead, the courage is building. So, of course, this is Donald Trump's response. See, he said, as I said on Friday night aboard Air Force One to the fake news media, House Republicans, I'm going to repeat that, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide, and it's time to move on from this Democrat hoax perpetuated by radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party, including our very, very recent victory on the Democrat shutdown. The Department of Justice has already turned over tens of thousands of pages to the public on Epstein, are looking at various Democrat operatives, Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, Larry Summers, etc., and their relationship to Epstein. And the House Oversight Committee can have whatever they are legally entitled to. I don't care. He says a lot more other stuff, but it doesn't matter. The main crux of that is that he thinks it's a good move now, and it's going to save his ass to say, I'm going to direct my Republican colleagues in the House to vote to release those files. Bro, they're already going to do that. You just don't want to look too bad when they finally do. I directed them to do that. And on top of that, you know what else he said? Let's go and have them investigate certain folks that I don't like so that maybe this can wash my hands of this whole situation. Please, bro, please. And actually, there's other aspects of this too. There's another reason why he thinks he's so smart and no one thinks beyond this second grade level. Thomas Massey blew up the lid on this tactic.
You know, the president's been saying this is a hoax. He's been saying that for months. Well, he's just now decided to investigate a hoax if it's a hoax. And I have another concern about these investigations that he's announced. If they have ongoing investigations in certain areas, those documents can't be released. So this might be a big smokescreen, these investigations, to open a bunch of them to as a last ditch effort to prevent the release of the Epstein files. You know,
Did you hear that part? It's actually part of the answer to the reason why people like Stephen A. Smith and other folks said, hey, during Biden's term, why didn't they release all the information? It's because investigations were continuing. So since Donald Trump wants to launch more investigations into people that he hates, and also at the same time, hopefully convincing people who are keying in on him to think that it's just all those dirty Dems, what he could also have this be is an ongoing investigation that he re-triggered from the Department of Justice to look into certain people with Epstein. And then therefore he can't release all those files because it's an ongoing investigation. John Carl also pointed it out too. Maybe he said it a little bit better. Folks are all over this.
No question, this is a big political shift. Legally, not so clear.
Yeah, look, George, politically, Donald Trump did everything in his power to prevent this vote for happening. And now suddenly he is calling on Republicans to vote in favor of releasing the Epstein files. Now, keep in mind, this is a reversal that comes as Donald Trump was on the verge of his biggest political defeat of his second term. He is essentially calling on Republicans to vote for something that many of them were already planning to vote for. None of this, although, means that these files will be released. If Trump wanted to release the Epstein files, he could do it right now. He could do it this morning. He could have done it last month. In his statement overnight, he said that Congress can have whatever they are, quote, legally entitled to have, which means, George, now he could use the excuse of an ongoing investigation, which he has also just called for, into Democrats to block the release of the files.
Yeah, we're going to have to be watching that. Meantime, this is really, you said it would have been the president's biggest defeat. This has opened the biggest divide between President Trump and his MAGA movement.
And he apparently doesn't even know that either. Does he really think that's going to work? Does he think he's like that? He's a smart guy? Who told him that? Like, this is what you do, President Pito. This is what you do. You launch an investigation and say you can't release the files because you've launched this investigation because you care so much about it. Marjorie Taylor Greene will probably go for it and be like, that's right, going after them. I'm back on Team MAGA. Oh my God. So as you guys saw there, Jonathan Karl was pointing that and blowing that whole lid off. Let's move on to this economy and actually how bad things are going. But also the best part about seeing them try and flail and talk about how great this economy is going is the fact that people like Jonathan Karl have finally decided to stop just listening to their lies and ask them a couple more questions. Here's Kevin Hassett getting, cornered, and watch him stutter.
The president claims that Thanksgiving costs are down 25%. I mean, does he know that's not true?
Well, if you look at Walmart and the few places that put out their prices of Thanksgiving
wait a
baskets.
minute. I got to stop because the Walmart comparison's like not a thing. I mean, Walmart had a Thanksgiving package last year. They've got a Thanksgiving package this year. The one this year contains much less than what the one last year took. So that's why the price is less. Look, we got a chart here. Last year, it was 21 total products. This year, it's 15. Total number of items in those products was 29% now. 29, now it's 22. There's more generic brand stuff. So, I mean, Thanksgiving, if you're going to the store to buy groceries for Thanksgiving, it's going to be more expensive this year.
I really don't don't understand where you're going in the sense that Joe Biden gave us 20%
He's not
inflation.
president. Donald Trump's president.
No, and you want us to fix the hole that Joe Biden
No, I'm
dug
just saying,
right away.
why does the president tell
the
everybody
prices went up so much under Joe Biden, and inflation is way down. Inflation is about half what it was in December. This is something that's being fixed fast, and real incomes are up after dropping about 3,000 under Joe Biden. And so, sure, you can find a few things where the price is higher, but there's a whole bunch of stuff where the price is lower, like gasoline, like
when are we going to get the Republican plan to
You understand that mortgage rates have gone way down, and it's much cheaper to buy a home now than it was when
because
President
interest
Trump
rates
took
have come
office.
down, right?
Yeah.
So,
It's weird that Kevin Hassett decided his voice went higher. What are you talking about? Mortgage rates. What's the purpose of a mortgage rate if you don't have a good enough paying job to, pay that mortgage and that rate? It doesn't matter. This guy got cornered, and then once he got cornered, he didn't understand why Jonathan Karl was coming for his ass so tough. It's like, I'm not sure what the point of this whole thing is. It's to prove that you're a fucking liar. Again, Jonathan Karl showed this guy is an effing liar. He just proved it. So the next time he talks, remember, this is what Jonathan Karl didn't answer from that question. He goes, what are you getting at? What I'm getting at is that you're untrustworthy, that you're a liar, that every time you speak, you're lying to people. And the next question should be, why are you lying to people? What are you covering up? What are you hiding? Is the economy actually sucked the way everyone sees that it's sucking, and you come on TV to lie about it instead? And when I blow the lid off it, very simply and very easily, from an easy internet search could have shown us all this. Now, Kevin Hassett is offended. You see, this is where the good old boys all hang out. And Kevin Hassett's like, you're not supposed to actually unveil how stupid I am. You're supposed to let me lie, and then we move on and have our cocktails later. It's because we've had to consistently listen to this guy lie about it all the time, too. And he gets away with it, so why can't Kevin Hassett?
We had a great weekend. From an economic standpoint, our prices are coming down very substantially on groceries and things. They're already at a much lower level than they were with the last administration. And we worked on it this weekend, and you're going to see some of the items that were a little bit higher. They were lower than the last administration, but a little bit higher. We're going to have some little price reductions, and in some cases, some pretty good ones. They use the affordability word. The affordability is much, much better with this. And again, I go to Walmart and other companies, and in every case, it's about 25%. That a meal, a Thanksgiving meal and surroundings are 25% lower than it was under the Biden administration. That's a big fact. And that comes from Walmart and others that do that. We had
I'm not sure what Thanksgiving surroundings are, but still, as I mentioned also, every time they're busted for lying, they just be quiet, get offended that they got busted for lying, come back next week and tell the same lie. He's going to keep telling that lie about Thanksgiving all the way through Thanksgiving. And then after Thanksgiving, he's going to say, I appreciate all the people who saved 25% less on their Thanksgiving meals when they went to Walmart. And apparently now, and others. Who are the others? Who are the other groups that are charging and giving 25% less on a Thanksgiving meal of, half the stuff that was in that same Thanksgiving meal the year before? I guess Kevin Hassett was a little bit bristly, he was all upset that Jonathan Karl came at him. He's like, what, who am I? Like, Mike Johnson or somebody? Because Jonathan Karl came after his ass too, remember? Jonathan Karl finally figured a couple of things out, and these guys continue to get cornered by it, and now they're offended all over again. The reason that, maybe Kevin Hassett should stop going on TV is because he keeps having to lie. Here it is about the $2,000 rebate checks. Did you guys hear about that?
President now looks like he's leaning towards a dividend of $2,000 per person that would be paid to everyone. What do you think of that plan?
Well, when we were passing the big, beautiful bill, one of the questions was, what should we do with the tariff revenue? And one of the things that I think people believed in the summer was that the best use is to reduce the deficit, reduce the debt. And it's really been working. So right now we've reduced the deficit by almost $400 billion this year. But one of the surprises since last summer is that, although it's not a surprise to Art Laffer, is that since we passed the tax cuts, we've actually had a big increase, almost $200 billion in tax revenue. We thought that wouldn't be a big reduction like the CBO said, but we've actually had a big increase. And so I think that it's back on the table to think about what to do with those tariff revenues. And I'm sure that the president will discuss with congressional leaders whether, because of all the extra tax revenue, there isn't more room to get checks back to people.
Nobody's buying this either. People are like, yeah, where's my $2,000, by the way? Which, by the way, you shouldn't be looking for $2,000 to pacify you from this. Also, by the way, as Kevin Hassett continues to lie, because he's a liar. I'm not sure if we established that yet. That $400 billion that they've taken down the deficit, that's not true. He just says things. He works for Donald Trump. You're supposed to just, say things. And by the way, here's a follow-up question from Fox News to Kevin Hassett, because they can tell he's not good at this.
So when people hear that, what's the reality of it? When do you think that people would get these $2,000 checks in the mail from the White House, from this plan?
Well, again, it will have to be passed by Congress. But the reality is just this, that because of Biden's inflation, which averaged 5% over 4 years, that people on average lost about $3,400 in purchasing power. Yep. And they've gained about $1,200 this year, but there's still room to go. And so we're making up ground fast. But the fact is that people are still down about $2,000 relative to what their purchasing power was when Joe Biden took office. And so we understand that people feel like there's an affordability problem, but we're closing the gap fast. And with these policies and potentially, rebate checks, we might close the whole gap really, really fast.
Okay, really fast. But you won't say exactly when, whether that's Q1 of next year.
Yeah, not me.
Not yet. Okay.
Now the $2,000 checks, or whether or not Congress is going to approve. So many new hurdles to go through. So many more ways to get this $2,000 that shouldn't be something that should be buying you off from normalcy of your life, of the increase in costs and the lack of job growth and all that type of stuff that they've destroyed in our country. But they're going to toss you $2,000. If you want to see how bad it can get, it got even worse. Kevin Hassett was talking about it, pulled back on it. But even before that, he probably should have gotten the memo that Scott Bessent was, throwing cold water on this too.
Do you have a formal proposal to give a $2,000 dividend to every American?
I haven't spoken to the president about this yet, but it could. The $2,000 dividend could come in lots of forms, in lots of ways, George. It could be just the tax decreases that we are seeing on the president's agenda. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, deductibility of auto loans. So, those are substantial deductions that, are being financed in the tax bill.
No. The answer I'm getting is that no, that's going to come in some kind of no tax on tips. How does that have to do with the $2,000 check that Donald Trump promised? And that also Kevin Hassett said, who knows when it's going to come? I have no idea when it's going to come. Donald Trump just posts things and we're left to try and clean it up and make some kind of sense of it. Then we look bad, and then he never actually catches any of the consequences. Here's someone asking the guy himself. See if you can find a time when you're getting this $2,000.
How soon would Americans see those checks? Will that be in time for Christmas? Holiday shopping?
No, not for this year. It'll be next year.
Do you have a time frame?
No, sometime during the year, next year. It's a lot of money, but we've taken in a lot of money from tariffs. The tariffs allow us to give a dividend if we want to do that. Now we're going to do a dividend, and we're also going to be reducing debt. We have, because of Biden and others, we have $37 trillion in debt. So we're going to be doing a dividend, which people will enjoy and spend and do what they want. But we're also going to be reducing debt very substantially.
But if the Supreme Court was against you, sir, is there
well, then I'd have to do something else. We'll have to figure something else. That would be a very sad day for our country.
Next year. Maybe later in the year after that. Maybe after the midterms. Maybe never. Will they get here by Christmas, sir? No. Christmas of what year? It's pretty bad. All you have to do is ask the most basic follow-up questions. You'll see all of the empty holes in everything that they say. Does that sound like a plan to you? The plan to you where he says sometime next year, that Scott Bessent says it'll be done through taxes on tips, that Kevin Hassett will say, I don't know, come whenever Congress does. Does any of that sound like a cohesive plan that makes any sense, that knows how much money he's getting, how he's going to get it to you, you, and then again continue to tell you that all that didn't come from increased prices from these tariffs. There's more of the BS and the lies. I'm going to get back to this story after TDR, you guys. There's more happening, specifically with the cattle issue and the excuses that they're making there. You won't be surprised here that Biden's name comes up. But I really want to wrap up this whole thing with the $2,000 and the cattle and the $2,000 you're supposed to be getting, or money, however much you're supposed to be getting for healthcare. Remember that promise? He's also making these promises as well too. Their healthcare plan is to give you some money and buy it yourself. You know, because if anybody else had come up with that stupid plan, they would have been all over that. Anyways, I gotta jump over to TDR. Like I said, you guys, I'll be back here to maybe another 5 at best 10 minutes worth of wrapping up this economic talk. You're gonna want to hear about beef and how we're getting diseased beef over the border. More liars like Kevin Hassett and Scott Bessent will be talking as well too. It's gonna be fun times. But until then, let's have some more fun times over at TDR. So I'm gonna catch you guys in a second over there. If you guys like what we're doing here, don't forget to like and subscribe to this whole here stream. Share it later. The stories will be up here. I'm liking it myself too, like I keep forgetting to do. The stories will be up on the page later as well. Go check it out and let folks know what we're doing here. Until then, I'm gonna see you guys over at TDR for a second and give them 5 minutes to frame me up and find me. See you guys there, and then back here again. Don't forget that part. See you later, Ma.